What are your thoughts on the NFT market in general that we're seeing today?
You know, I don't know if you remember this, but in the height of that summer, I started making these videos that said 99% of NFTs are going to zero. And everyone was very confused because we were in it. Everyone was like, hey, party time. And I was like, roaring 20s. Here comes the Great Depression. And so what do I see? I see what I thought was happening. Short-term greed was leading to different kinds of behaviors, which is always vulnerable. And this is a correction. And we will build from here. And I'm here for that 20, 30-year run.
Hey everyone, welcome to Web3 Deep Dive. I'm your host, Rachel Wolfson. This show focuses on real-world Web3 use cases to help you better understand how this technology is being applied today and how it may be applied in the future. If this sounds interesting, please be sure to subscribe to the show so you stay up to date with all the new episodes. Before getting started with today's episode, I'd like to thank Wursta for making Web3 Deep Dive possible. Wursta is a global technology consultancy with headquarters in Austin, Texas, and Quito, Ecuador. Wursta works with enterprises to help them make sound business decisions on all of their core technologies. And before we get started with the show, I also just want to remind you guys that Web3 Deep Dive is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not offer any forms of financial advice at all. Without further ado, let's dig deep into Web3. Today's episode is with Gary V. Gary is a serial entrepreneur and creator of VeeFriends. Let's get to it. Hey Gary, how's it going?
Well.
Great. And hello Deanna, how are you?
Fantastic.
Wonderful. So Gary.
Yes.
Your title in the VeeCon app is creator. Can you elaborate a little bit on that and what that means?
I am the creator of, obviously VeeFriends, but in general, it's how I think of myself. I've learned that I'm in this evolution of thinking of myself as a businessman through my youth and now realizing how much more creativity I had as it continued to evolve and as I continue to evolve. And so I'm obviously in the context of this conference, I'm a creator of the specific IP that is throwing this event. And so I'm really proud of how I've developed VeeFriends and really just even my career, even my own content. I realize how much of my strength is my actual ideas and creativity, and I'm trying to tap into that more.
Got it. Wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about VeeCon 2023. It's the second year. Can you explain how VeeCon relates to Web3?
Well, VeeCon is the utility that is on the smart contract of owning a Series 1 VeeFriend. So it was important to me when I launched the Series 1 VeeFriend collectible that there was also a utility attached to it, because that would really take advantage of what NFTs were. Otherwise, you could do it different ways. You could do it a Web 2 or a Web 1 way. So I really wanted to do that. And so VeeCon is the conference that you get by owning a Series 1 VeeFriend, the ticket to that. And so that's what we are, that's who we are, that's what we're here doing, and I'm excited about it.
Cool. How would you define Web3?
That's a good question. I would say that Web3's foundation is based on decentralized blockchains. For a lot of non-nerds, it'd be like, what does that mean? It means that the things that you complain about, like Google has too much power, or Apple, Google and Apple and Facebook, they have their servers and you live on them when you travel through the internet. When you travel through the blockchain, NFTs and things of that nature, well, nobody owns those servers. They're decentralized, which creates the ownership on the person that actually owns the asset. So you don't actually own your profile on Twitter. Twitter does. Right? Whereas in this world, you're the owner, you're the custodial owner. And so that's a very transformative concept. And I think we're going to see more and more things play out over the next 20, 30, 50 years that take advantage of this technology, like deeds and title insurance and a lot of municipalities and, really a safe place to store something that you're in control of.
I remember all the care that you put into planning the VeeFriends Series 1 collection. Had a little bit of a backstage pass on that. You've learned a lot over the last couple of years. If you were to release VeeFriends today, what would you do differently?
That's a great question. Series 1, not a whole lot other than Oh man, it's so funny that you asked that question. One of the ways my brain breaks is it's incapable of like leaning into regret. It likes to learn little things. So, it's funny how not natural the flow of this question goes for me, because I'm like, I'm happy with how it's going. I'm happy with the way it is. I'm trying to think. Not much. I think nothing.
Amazing. It is going really well.
I think it's, I don't know, I'm even enjoying, I'm probably going to think about this moment over the next couple of weeks. I'm like, what is that? Is that contentness, which I think is a powerful trait that most people are not tapping into? Is that delusion? Am I being, I'll ask myself, is that delusional? Because there are 800 things that could have been better, but why doesn't it feel like something like that there's a real answer to? And I feel like there's something powerful there, and I need to give that some thought.
Amazing. You can follow up with me on
Yeah,
that.
well, I'll text you.
You can come back on the show anytime. Gary,
Well,
always
for that.
welcome.
Thank you.
So you recently released Burn Island.
Yes.
To burn or destroy an NFT.
Yes.
Why would someone do that, and how does that help support VeeFriends?
Storytelling. I want to create this really cool world called Burn Island. I've got a whole plan for it in the analog world, and the storytelling world, and the kids' books world, and the video games world. And in NFT land, I want to keep pushing the envelopes of innovation. Going back to knowing who owns something, it's cool to give the community an opportunity. Do you want to burn this and destroy this and redeem it for something else? No different than the things in the 70s and 80s that a lot of us grew up with, which is like, if you collect all these packs and you submit this, or if you scratch, you could keep this as a collectible, but you can scratch it off and try to win in an old Pac-Man trading card in the 1980s. You didn't have to scratch it off. You could, or Donkey Kong, it was like a game, and you could keep it as a collectible, but if you scratch it off, you could win the t-shirt. I like playing with the community and coming up with things. I want to do things that are fun and exciting, and sometimes it's fun to do a sweepstakes. You don't have to, and sometimes it's fun to change out the background in your NFTs. So I want to keep pushing the envelope of innovation.
It's also kind of psychological as well, to see if people will want to burn and destroy their NFTs, or if they want to keep them and hold them forever. I think it's actually really cool to see that psychology behind it.
In a big way.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by the data.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the NFT market in general that we're seeing today?
I don't know if you remember this, but in the height of that summer, I started making these videos that said 99% of NFTs are going to zero. And everyone was very confused because we were in it. Everyone was like, hey, party time. And I was like, roaring 20s. Here comes the Great Depression. And so what do I see? I see what I thought was happening. Short-term greed was leading to different kinds of behaviors, which is always vulnerable. And this is a correction. And we will build from here. And I'm here for that 20, 30-year run.
Got it. How important is utility with NFTs in your opinion? Should NFTs be more about artwork or utility or both, or does it matter?
Both, of course, both. Billions of dollars are spent on collecting art a year. Clearly people like collecting art, and digital art will be collected. But there's also an incredible economy around membership clubs and tickets to events and real life stuff. And so you can decide. You can do it just about the utility, you could do it just about the art, or you can do it about both.
So VeeCon is one of the first super conferences with NFT tickets. What other tools do you think need to be built in order to enable mass adoption?
Tons and tons and tons of things are going to be built. I think popular creators, video games, think about Pokemon Go with AR, right? With AR, you needed a popular IP to create a game that got everybody to understand AR. So I think popular brands creating, experiences, but there's a ton of technology that still needs to be built, right? Things that are more easily, brought up on your phone without being a security issue. Stuff that works on voice devices. I mean, we could sit here for hours on this. We're just starting.
Gary, final question. How can we ensure mass adoption of Web3?
It's already insured. The technology is bigger than everyone here combined times 1,000. The technology exists. It's over. It will happen. It's just, it ebbs and flows. the internet was asking this, people like this that cared about the internet in 1992 asked the same question. It happened. It will happen here too. Thank you.
Thank you to Web3 Deep Dive's executive producer, Deanna Wursta. Thank you to Web3 Deep Dive's director, Alex Wilcox. And thank you to Web3 Deep Dive's producer, Mark Gammo. I also want to thank Donna Albo for providing the music for this podcast. And of course, thank you to the listeners for joining us for this episode of Web3 Deep Dive. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and share so you can help spread the love and get the word out there about Web3 Deep Dive. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks.